Madeline faced controversy in her career when she vacated her role in the Broadway musical On the 20th Century under questionable circumstances.
It was very difficult to sing. It was a very compressed schedule, and there was a period there where we worked for 3 weeks in a row without a day off. At the end of that 3-week period, having opened and done the record, I just sounded something like Mercedes McCambridge, which is fine if you're doing The Exorcist,
doing Exorcist,
not when you're singing. And I just, you know, never had a chance to regain, because 8 shows a week doesn't allow you to do that.
Despite the controversy, Madeline received her second Tony nomination for her role. She also played her friend Gilda Radner's mother in 1981's First Family, and re-teamed with Mel Brooks in History of the World, Part 1.
She played the Empress, and the Emperor of Rome was played by Dom DeLuise. She obviously had many affairs on the side. Dom didn't care because he was too busy eating.
And I was Nero, Caesar, and I was nuts.
She played the Empress of Rome like a yenta who lived in apartment 4B somewhere in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I said, "What? You're the Empress of Rome. What are you doing?" She says, "Well, I think she's more like a yenta from Brooklyn." I said, "Okay, that works. That works, you know." And she was on the money.
Madeline had had her fill of ingenue roles, and History of the World Part 1 was the last film she would do with Mel Brooks, ending one of the funniest collaborations of our time.
It's so good to work in the company of people that you respect in terms of your art and their art.
Mel Brooks really established her as a comedic force.
Mel's kind of humor was just so cutting edge and so funny and so different from anything else. People just didn't say such rude and funny things. And to hear Madeline, who was this kind of delicate and very ladylike person, say these rude things was even funnier. He reveled in making her uncomfortable and putting her in funny positions, and they're just classic.
In 1983, Madeline was given her own television series titled Oh, Madeline. It was the first show of the newly formed production company, Carsey Werner. It was not successful.
I think it's unfortunate because I think she was certainly powerful enough to handle a lead in a sitcom.
She got a People's Choice Award for it, and people in her profession were very complimentary about her work in it.
A string of less successful projects followed. Madeline was not being offered the roles she once was.
Madeline was always concerned about the money that she, Madeline, had to earn to keep things going for her mother and to keep her mother happy.
Madeline wasn't married and didn't have children and made a good living, and felt that Paula shouldn't have to work.
If I didn't have to take any assistance from her, that would have been good.
Madeline thought of herself as having had a very difficult childhood, and there were a lot of feelings left over from that childhood.
Mother and daughter had a complex relationship. Madeline's success and Paula's never realized dreams of her own performing career made a difficult situation worse.
When I saw her in her work, it was a different thing from being her mother. You know, I always saw her as another actress. I guess this was this competition between us. She never wanted me to perform or do anything because I think she felt it was a threat to her identity, so I never did.
That's not entirely accurate. Paula tried a number of times to get Maddie to help her further Paula's career, and Paula has always felt like she was the true undiscovered talent in the family.
Some time ago, Paula wrote a one-woman play for herself that Madeline financed and produced.
Her mother always felt that something screwy happened. That, you know, how come my daughter became so famous and I didn't when we know I'm the talented one? What happened here? Madeline said, I agree with you. You're the real talent. I'm just, you know, giving the boys a laugh. She rented the Westwood Playhouse, and there was Madeline's mother on stage. She was pretty good. She sang a few songs, she told a few stories, she reminisced about her life, And it was an interesting evening.
Paula was also disappointed that Madeline never married or had children, but a child did come into Madeline's life when Jeff and his wife Jewel gave birth to their daughter, Eliza, in 1987.
She thought of Eliza pretty much as the daughter that she could have had or would have had or should have had, and she loved her so much.
Madeline always wanted to kind of show Eliza the way, kind of show Eliza how to become a woman.
Me and Maddie were really close. We had a special relationship because I was the only close child in her life.
1989 was a year of change for Madeline. She lost her father Bernard to lung cancer and her friend Gilda Radner to ovarian cancer. Things began to look up when Madeline was cast opposite Ed Asner in the Broadway play Born Yesterday. She would receive her third Tony nomination.
I remember reading the reviews and saying to myself, I've got to get a ticket to see Madeline Kahn at Born Yesterday. And I didn't.
John didn't need to. The sociable attorney would meet Madeline at a birthday party she had been invited to by her friend Gail.
There, sitting on this sofa, was John Hansberry. And I think they liked each other right away.
We sat down on a couch and talked for about 3 hours straight. And it was a very intimate and startling conversation, I suppose. It was very intense. She was a very direct, intelligent, and open person. She was making a movie then with Alan Alda called Betsy's Wedding. She had to return to the film set, which was in Wilmington, North Carolina.
While shooting Betsy's Wedding, Madeline began her long-distance relationship with John over the phone.
She invited me to North Carolina, so I said, okay. So I flew down to North Carolina, and she was playing Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy's mother. So these three red-headed women. It was very intimidating.
Madeline and John became serious, but agreed to keep separate apartments.
I knew that he was a confirmed bachelor, but that was okay with her because that's what she liked, you know, gave her the independence she wanted.
Coming of age in the 60s, as kind of hippies, we didn't feel the need for marriage particularly.
Contentment in her personal life was accompanied by professional satisfaction. In 1992, Madeline joined her friend Robert Klein on Broadway in the cast of Wendy Wasserstein's The Sisters Rosenzweig.
She was tenacious about making sure that this woman had dignity. Somehow it struck her that she went to the core of what Wendy Wasserstein had written. Behind the silliness is a real woman with real needs and aspirations and so forth, and that's what she went for.
Madeline's not like gorgeous Teitelbaum in the least bit, but she had to find the kind of humanity in this kind of woman who could be a caricature of a Yenta and a typical Jewish suburban housewife. And so it was a difficult process, but very rewarding.
After 2 Oscar and 3 Tony nominations, Madeline finally brought home the Best Actress Tony Award for her performance as Gorgeous.
I just happened to be the one who got to present it to her.
The Tony goes to the person who gave me my first job at the upstairs at the downstairs by writing a note to the producer because she saw me at the Improv. Madeline Kahn, the Sisters Rosenzweig.
And when she did win, it was wonderful because for us to sort of come around that way, her having given me my first job by sticking a little piece of paper in an envelope, and then how many years later, I'm able to open that envelope and say Madeline Kahn.
Next, Madeline's television success is interrupted by earth-shattering news.